Morning.
Corner of the screen.
Hello.
You've got a new person.
Have we?
Yes, Polly. This is Polly.
Welcome, Deb.
Hello, dear viewer. The odd person with the dog happens to be the Reverend Deb Smith, who is the rector of the Bridport.
Sorry, Canon.
Oh, Canon Deborah Smith, the rector of the Bridport team. It's good to see you with us, Debs.
It's nice to be here. I think it's nice to be here.
You'll find out after the first session. Yeah, we thought we needed to renew some energy into this gobbledygook each week, and we looked for a volunteer, and Deb said yes.
You scraped the barrel.
Well, we did actually, but don't worry about it. We've done that before.
Are you feeling inadequate now because you're not a canon?
I am. You and me both.
Yeah.
Oh no, but we've been plotting your meteoric rise through bribing the dean with sausages. So
yes.
Well, he'd already bribed the bishop with some balsam sausages.
Yes.
So who knows? I mean, I think that was a very low trick against the rest of us, don't you?
It was done in full sight. All of us saw it. It wasn't
total transparency.
Well, I guess you could say that, or you could say, I like the way you looked around the room as you put them in front of me.
I mean, that meeting we had the day after, because we were all so upset. He's not going to be getting news for him, is he?
Sausage Gate, as it's become known. Yeah.
He's not coming to the next curry evening, I tell you. Oh no, he is.
500-year-old butcher. It wasn't a 500-year-old sausage.
But you can tell we're all sore about it because we talked about it on Rev Chat last week as well. With Rehearse.
Oh, right. Yes.
We're rehearsing the same argument.
Yeah. Anyway, as we move into Holy Week, we'll let it all go, Chris. We will.
We'll nail it.
Yeah, people have been to the cross for less. You be careful, Chris. Right.
Well, welcome, Deb. It's lovely to have you.
It's Palm Sunday this week, dear viewer. Palm Sunday.
Oh, my donkey's in the car, ready to go to assembly. I waved it. I'm sorry.
Donkey in the car.
Well, we've got
one of these.
Oh, mine's in the office.
Yeah, mine's up on the board up there.
Is there small brownie points? I've actually got a Palm Cross with me for Palm Sunday.
Very good.
No, I can reach and get mine, but I don't want to show off, Chris, because obviously this is a thing that you're getting into in a bad way. Well, you have to be careful. But
remember Jesus rode on a donkey because he was humble?
Ah, Joe, that's a good point. That's a good point, Joe.
Is it apostrophe U or HU?
Seriously. Right. Are you reading, David? Did you say?
Yeah, I thought I'd have a go at reading today if you want me to. I don't mind.
Pausing first.
Let's pause.
Are we doing our Harry pause?
Be Polly pause. Excellent. We're paused. It doesn't take him very long to pause.
Okay.
Stop pausing.
I thought David had frozen.
He does sometimes do that. I think he does that on meetings on purpose. Anyway.
Come on.
A reading, dear viewer, from the 21st chapter of the Gospel according to St. Matthew, beginning to read at verse 1. When they had come near Jerusalem and had reached Bethphage, the Mount of Olives, Jesus sent 2 disciples, saying to them, "Go into the village ahead of you, and immediately we will find a donkey tied and a colt with her. Untie them and bring them to me. If anyone says anything to you, just say this: the Lord needs them, and he will send them immediately." This took place to fulfill what had been spoken through the prophet, saying, "Tell the daughter of Zion, look, your king is coming to you, humble and mounted on a donkey, and on a colt, the foal of a donkey." The disciples went and did as Jesus had told them. They brought the donkey and the colt and put their cloaks on them, and he sat on them. A very large crowd spread their cloaks on the road, and others cut branches from the trees and spread them on the road. The crowds that went ahead of him and that followed were shouting, "Hosanna to the Son of David! Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord! Hosanna in the highest heaven!" When he entered Jerusalem, the whole city was in turmoil, asking, "Who is this?" The crowds were saying, "This is the prophet Jesus from Nazareth in Galilee." Then Jesus entered the temple and drove out all who were selling and buying in the temple, and he overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold doves. He said to them, "It is written, my house shall be called a house of prayer, but you are making it a den of robbers."
Well, my first memory is my New Testament lecturer at college telling us that the Greek has 2 donkeys and painting this little picture of Jesus sat on one donkey with his feet resting on the saddle of the colt, the foal of the donkey. So you had these 2 donkeys walking side to side with Jesus on both of them.
Wow.
And that was a lecture in a university hall. It must be true.
It's amazing what rubbish some people
Yeah.
come up with, isn't it?
But it does say they brought the donkey and the colt, put their cloaks on them, and he sat on them. Sat on the cloaks, sat on the donkey and the colt. What
It's a
does
strange
them-
picture. I mean,
It does say in my interpretation I read to you that the colt was the foal of a donkey. So 2 donkeys, possibly, right, Chris? Wouldn't want to do anything against you at this moment.
But you assume maybe that the foal is too young to be separated from its
yeah.
donkey mother. So maybe
Well-
that's just coming along for the ride.
We had a donkey in the village in Shropshire where I used to live, which appeared occasionally on Palm Sunday for the march through the village street. But it would only come if the pony that it lived in the field with came with it. It wouldn't come without the young horse.
Companion horse.
It wouldn't come. So if the horse wouldn't come that day, the donkey wouldn't come either. So that could be, see, Chris, another reason why there were 2 side by side. One wouldn't come without the other.
Oh, why weren't you my New Testament lecturer at college, David?
Wow, it's hard to imagine why.
No, I'm up for it. No, I think I've wasted my time here, obviously.
Interestingly, if anyone says anything to you, just say this: the Lord needs them, and He will send them immediately. Have you ever tried that with, acquiring things? The Lord needs this. Whiskey box, whatever you like.
I suppose it depends how quick of foot you are. You could say it and then make a quick getaway. Because I think it'd be very difficult to answer that immediately. Because it kind of does put you on the back foot, really.
I think we should try it, though, Deb, shouldn't we? The rector wants those sausages, and they'll immediately be sent to us.
Well, actually, that's exactly what Chris did in the butchers. It was just a variation on a theme. It was not the Lord needs it, but it was the bishop needs it.
Yeah.
And the bishop asked for it.
Anyway, should we leave the sausages?
So next time I see a Ferrari parked outside of church,
Yeah, have a go.
just walk up to the owner and say, "The Lord needs it. Give me the keys."
Yeah. But
Yeah,
they would
good luck
say,
with that.
yeah, just see you. And also, as we were mentioning before we started recording, or maybe when we were recording, I can't remember, I have a very small memory, it wouldn't work with a Lamborghini or a Ferrari, because the whole point is this is not Jesus riding on a horse or in a chariot. So you're going to have to wait you need an old banger, really.
Yeah.
Joe,
Probably
thank you for
Ferrari.
bringing us round to some form of sensibleness.
My pleasure.
And getting
My last
bangers
few
in
weeks.
again.
It says that it said, doesn't it, that he was fulfilling the prophecy.
Yes, which we all ought to know exactly.
It's the prophecy of Zechariah,
Oh, Zechariah, there you go.
chapter 9, verse 9. But you need to know about verse 10 if you really want to follow it up. You can see I've been preparing for this, Deb, just to get my own back on people.
Or do you have one of those noted Bibles that tells you?
Verse 10 says, "He will cut off the chariot from Ephraim and the war horse from Jerusalem, and he shall take command of peace to the nations.
So it can't be a horse and it can't be a chariot for exactly those reasons, because it's about demonstrating cutting off from those. Interesting.
Yeah, but verse 9 was the one that was mentioned. 9, verse 10 follows, you see. So I thought I'd just get that in, because I don't have to do a sermon for Sunday, so I won't need to use it again. So, dear viewer, you have heard the benefits of my study, which is wasted for Sunday.
What about the response? What about the response of people laying their cloaks? Because I was thinking about that, you know, it's not like you've got loads of stuff, you know. I think having your cloak, that's probably quite a big deal. Your protection, your source of warmth, and maybe even status, and laying it underneath the colt and the donkey, but also just making a pathway. I think that's quite a statement of giving everything, or giving, you know, the cloak off your back, which is immediate, but it's also kind of what keeps you warm, keeps you. I think it is about status as well, isn't it? You know, when you talk about giving the clothes off your back, that is, you know, it's an immediate response. Which, can you imagine if people just sort of laid down their gorgeous garments and said, yeah, that's fine. I just think there's something about that.
Keep going, Deb. This is Rev Chat according to Canon Deb. It's good. It's good, Deb.
It's really good stuff.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Whenever I'm thinking of Palm Sunday this year, I can't help but think of a coronation that's coming quite soon. And the very big differences that there would be, that he will be arriving in his gold coach, presumably. And the carpet will be out, you know, down the steps of the cathedral or the Abbey. Yeah. Shockingly don't know. Is it Westminster Abbey? It must be. And, you know, they'll have swept the streets and everyone will be, you know, everyone be nicely behind a barrier, and for lots of reasons. But this is so different, isn't it? Because it's impromptu and mucky and costs the people. You know, the physical act of, like you say, putting your cloak when it's going to get trodden on and ripped, maybe, and dusty.
Yeah. And pooed on. Donkeys. Unreliable donkeys.
I think it's also interesting the way they describe him. They say, this is the prophet Jesus from Nazareth in Galilee. That's who they identify him. And it says the city was in turmoil, asking, who is this? He's causing chaos, isn't he, as he arrives?
And great excitement, you know. It's, I mean, I always imagine that a lot of people kind of didn't really know why everyone else was excited, but just caught it, you know, and thought, oh, there's something good going on. And but laying down your own cloak or whatever it was you laid down, making your own red carpet, I suppose. I think it's a combined effort as well. It's not just the council's laying this on for Jesus coming in. It's everybody putting their bit in. I think that's quite something.
Are you still there, Chris?
Yeah, I'm listening to all these clever people saying things.
I thought you'd gone to sleep or something.
No, I was listening. I mean, actually, I think Deb's making quite a point there, isn't it? And, you know, as a people, we're so used to expecting everybody to lay on things for us all the time. And even people, when they come to church, just expect all the jobs to be done. And actually, sometimes let's just get caught up and we turn up and just do what needs to be done, and we all do it together. And if we all need to lay a cloak down to make our own red carpet, I'm going to go away and reflect on making our own red carpet. That's more,
because cloaks play quite an important part of the whole of this week's story, don't they? As the cloak's being laid down today. When we have the story of the Passion, we hear about Jesus' cloak, don't we? Which is too precious. And again, the prophet had said it wouldn't be damaged anyway, and they don't rip the cloak up and share it. It's maintained as one and drawn by lot to see which one of them is going to keep it.
Mm.
So there's something very, very, very important about this garment.
Yeah, and that's quite interesting, because you get these cloaks laid on Palm Sunday, and then you hear about Jesus' clothes being ripped and shared, and it's kind of like everything, being sort of rent asunder almost. It's like the unraveling. This is, it's the beginning of this entry into Holy Week, and we all know what's coming, but it kind of, I hadn't thought of that. Mm.
Well, and then, go on, sorry.
No, Joe, just to say, going back to your coronation thoughts, I see that in the cathedral, as part of the coronation celebrations, they're going to have one of the coronation cloaks.
Oh, are they?
The picture of it is big purple with lots of ermine rabbits or something around the side of it. And again, cloaks are important aspect of showing importance, do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I noticed that they were having a make your own crown and a selfie throne. I thought that
They are. Yeah, there we are.
Who was doing that?
That's in the cathedral in Salisbury.
Oh, right.
They've got a whole host of things that are going on around the coronation.
Mm.
And then we get this extra bit, which I'm not sure whether it's set for Palm Sunday or not, but it was good for you to carry on, David, about the, all this energy and honour and excitement and turmoil and respect. And the first thing he does in Matthew's account is go and cleanse the temple.
Yeah.
That's why I carried on. So I think that's an important part of that beginning part of the story, because you've got all the adulation on Palm Sunday, and I don't know about yourself. I remember when I was, a youngster, and we used to have a Holy Week club at our church every year, and we'd do various bits of acting out of the story. I used to love it, and the first one on the Monday was always the story of the cleansing of the temple, which I loved because we were allowed to dive over the altar rails and things as if we were throwing stuff everywhere. And I think there's something very special about that story. It takes you from the adulation to the first thing that starts to change people's minds.
Yeah.
And there's so much energy in the Holy Week's narratives, aren't there? There's just this, it's relentless. It just powers on, in contrast to the kind of meandering around Galilee that the Gospels portray over the previous 3 years. And then there's just this huge energy which flits between adulation and then horror and persecution and rejection. There's just this huge energy driving everything. Sorry, Chris, I talked over you.
That's what I was just thinking. We carrying on from that. There's a lot of extremes here, isn't there? Here you've got Jesus coming in being adulated, and in less than a few days' time, he's being executed on a cross. And the same people that are cheering become the same people that are shouting for him to be done away with.
Or possibly different people. But yes, there's definitely a change in the...
It's the same. It's the same city.
Same city. May not be the same crowds, but yeah.
No.
What social media was changing people's minds so quickly?
Oh, just the whispering.
Who was driving the whispering? Who was driving the fake news that we call it today? And the narrative. We've got to get rid of him. He's a threat to us.
Yeah.
There is a sense of the crowd mentality, I think, though. I think, there were lots of faithful people there and lots of people not. I always imagine, anyway, of people catching hold of the excitement. But people are swayed by the crowd, aren't they? And I think that's quite topical at the moment. I was just listening to that AI stuff today on the news, and it's about being in connection ourselves as well, not always listening to the loudest voices, which is hard.
Yeah, Deb, just think back a bit. In your former life as a journalist, how would you have recorded or reported on that story?
Well, yeah, I do think about, you get it in the tabloid press often, where they're lauding someone, and then 2 or 3 days later they are absolutely lampooning them, and it's like there is a tendency in commentary like that to just give people what they want, and then you get maybe the broadsheets, which sounds a bit snooty, but you get the more sort of in-depth reporting, which actually looks behind it, because often the headline. I remember when I was a journalist, not that I was very lofty in that land of journalism, but you'd write a story and then you'd give it to the subs, and then the headline they put on it bore no relationship to what you'd written, because they just wanted to get people's attention, and then people would probably be very disappointed when they read it. Well, it's not as salacious as it sounded it was going to be. And I think that is something in humanity where, you just want the top sort of header of the story without going deeper. And it's a shame, really.
But what's our top header for Easter?
Or Easter or Palm Sunday.
Well, Palm Sunday's the beginning of our Easter, isn't it? What would be our header? All right. Also, what would be our header for Palm Sunday? Jesus starts his reign.
Oh.
Well,
Outsider lurks into the city.
Oh yeah. Cloaks trashed.
Yeah.
Cloaks trashed in by donkey and colt.
Yeah,
Outsider demands cloaks. Rich cloaks chucked on the floor in front of him.
Donkey and colt stolen.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can twist it any way you like, can't you?
But you could, I often say to people in church, if you come to church on Palm Sunday and then you don't come back until Easter Sunday, you've kind of had these two sort of bookends. Not that I should say that Easter Sunday is a bookend, but you've missed the whole narrative, and you would misunderstand the story completely. Jesus rocks up into town and everyone's yay, and then on Easter Sunday he's risen. And I think that there's something like that in journalism, which is just the big points, and all the detail in between is where you actually understand something about who God is. And, so, yeah. So you've got to follow the story.
It was interesting because I don't know whether any of you have been following it, but we've had a Tuesday Lent book group based on that book Failure by Emma Innes and the Archbishop's book. And I've enjoyed it. I think there's been some good discussions, haven't there, Joe? But the chapter we looked at on Tuesday was about talked about, was the cross failure? Was Jesus a failure? Was God failure? And I took that question in with me to the senior school yesterday to do assembly with years 7 and 8, which, as you know, having done 7 and 8 kind of assemblies, they're actually a bit of a loss because none of them want to talk to you anymore, because they're past the primary school answer where everyone wants to answer questions. And though some of them do, that you can see they're looking around to look whether they look stupid amongst their friends, so they never answer back. But I did ask the question, does anybody think that God was a failure? And the first person to put their hand up was the teacher.
What did they say?
Well, I looked at them and thought, are they trying to signal to somebody? Because there's always kind of signals going on at the senior school. Put that down and stop talking, and you're trying to keep going. So I said, are you meant to answer the question? And the person said to me, because I didn't know her name, a lady teacher who's new, I've never met before, and she said, I've questioned that with the children in RE many times. Is God a failure? And I said, so what answer do you get? She said, it's all according what year it is. The older they get, the more they think God is a failure. But when they first come into school, because of all they've been taught at primary school, they're still in love with God. I thought that was an interesting answer, really.
Well, and that slightly sums up the pattern of Holy Week, isn't it?
Yeah.
That as they go through, as you move through, they're less in love with God.
Yeah.
As we, get to Good Friday. And I mean, that's the other thing as we head into Holy Week is that, we see the celebration of Easter Day with resurrection. But I think for the disciples who were living it the first time, it didn't feel like celebration then, because it just didn't make any sense at all. There was just this like, what? Here? I don't get it. So
you've got the disbelief. I mean, and we always go through Good Friday knowing that Sunday's coming.
Mm.
And those disciples wouldn't have done that.
Mm.
You know, the Good Friday, the dying on the cross was the absolute desolation, which would have really confused them from the triumph of Palm Sunday.
Yeah.
So go on, Joe. Come.
Well, it is just that pace, isn't it? You know, within a few days, everything has changed. And it's so difficult to... But, I mean, that is the nature of crisis, isn't it? You think about the crises that we go through in our own lives or in the life of the world, you know, things do turn on a split second, you know, and suddenly everything's changed in a war or in a natural disaster or in, you know, life and death stuff. Just a few minutes can completely change the outcome. Sorry, David, what you can say?
No, I was just going to say, I ended with the children really yesterday by saying to them that, you're quite right, Chris, the disciples were devastated. They knew that, another day would come because that's what happens naturally. What they hadn't heard is what Jesus had said, I will go, but on the third day I will rise. And it was, again, those women, Mary, who suddenly realised, actually, this is the day. Let's go and find out what's happened. You know, and they got, you know, and I was a bit dramatic with the children, you know, and they ran there, and suddenly there was the stone moved. They all looked in, expectant, waiting to see a body on the, or what, didn't know. And all they saw a few clothes rolled up, and then a man in the garden, according to which version you read, you know, either glowing white or mistaken by the gardener or whatever. And they speak to him not knowing until he speaks to them and says, Mary, whatever. And I said, even then, the men were hiding, so the women went back at them. And Peter, as ever, God bless him, ran down there and he saw and he believed. And that's why I believe, because, you know, on Easter Day I see. And having explored a little bit about what hope means in that story with the children, and you just hope you leave something with them. And I think that is the key thing. You know, they didn't know except what they'd been told. And some of them hadn't got the nerve to go and look maybe, or just felt he was worthless. But Mary, God, you know, couldn't wait. She just got to go and find out.
He had risen. I've got my signing rate. I'm going to Mountjoy in a minute.
Yeah,
risen.
Exactly. So all in all, a good week to start with us, Debs, bringing your journalistic skills to the fore, because we do need a bit of upgrading. We've got a bit stale, so you are it, Deb. You're our hope and salvation going forward.
Oh, goodness.
All you've got to do now is keep up this standard going forward.
Blinding start. Just keep going. And upping the glamour quotient as well. So that's important.
Well, definitely not this morning. No.
Yeah. There we are. Where's the dog gone? That's the thing.
She's obviously gone off. Yeah, I think all that talk, that theological talk, she's kind of gone. She's hiding under the table now.
You see, our viewer does like to see a dog, and Chris normally wins the dog stakes because he brings out the little sausage, and everyone loves the little sausage.
What are you saying, young David?
And on that note,
I ask you, Joe, all our dear viewers, hello, Pat in upstate New York, I hope you're still watching, and all the fans in Spain who've gone somewhere else. Australia, are you in Australia? Hope you're watching down in Australia, and a few local people as well. We all know Chrissy's little sausage dog, which has gone to work today. That's why he's not here.
All right.
Yeah, but there we are.
Well, so, thank you for joining for us.
Good to see you, and we'll see you all next week. Joe, do you want to give because we've got a new place to follow now?
Oh, no, well, I get this right. So you can find all of us all over the internet because we're just so savvy like that. But you can find us on the Egerton and Colmers website, on the Beaminster Team Ministry website and Facebook page, and Beaminster Team is on Facebook, Insta, and something else, Twitter, I think, but I'm not sure anyone goes there. And we have a website too. So
don't forget TikTok. Don't forget TikTok.
Oh yeah, are you on TikTok, Deb?
No, I'm not that modern.
That's just a Chris thing. But of course, what is going on is worship in our churches all the way through Holy Week, in all our churches, in all different ways. And if you check on our websites, you'll no doubt find all the details for Holy Week and come and join in the story so that it makes a bit of sense for you.
And especially
We'll
join
see you
in
again.
between Palm Sunday and Easter Sunday.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.